Next, we have a discussion item as requested by council, item number 13, discussion and direction on City of Livingston Fire Services.
Thank you, Mayor. So this item, number 13, I've got a brief presentation to go over the status of this item and where we stand today. Just by way of background, you'll recognize this slide. A lot of these points were discussed a couple months ago. The issue at hand tonight, so Merced County has informed the city that it will need to contribute $750,000 to accommodate additional staffing needed at Livingston Station 96. The new staffing levels are because of directives from Sacramento. In the absence of $750,000 from the city, the county recommends the closure of Livingston Station 96. The last signed agreement between the City of Livingston and Merced County Fire for Protection Services expired in 1995. The city is currently desiring to partner with the county on the submittal of a SAFER grant, which would fund additional staffing needed at Station 96 for a limited term. A new sales tax measure may generate additional opportunities for the City of Livingston to enter into its own agreement with neighboring fire agencies, develop its own fire department, or other alternatives. The City of Livingston has provided Merced County with two viable proposals, one supported by CAL FIRE firefighters and CAL FIRE management. Additional background on this item: on February 7th, 2023, an item was brought forward to the council for the fire staffing augmentation at a cost of $399,903. That item was pulled from the agenda by previous management staff. On March 7th, 2023, Merced County informed the city that it would need to provide $750,000 of funding for the additional 2.0 level of staffing. The city was provided a memo from CAL FIRE regarding changes at the minimum staffing level with no justification for increase from $400,000. Now that was as it relates to Merced County, and the difference between in February providing the $400,000 and then on March providing an increase of $750,000. So that $350,000 difference is yet to be known as to why. Since that time, the city has been requesting budget information and details related to the proposed increase and an equitable split. The council appointed Mayor Pro Tem Gurpal Samra and Councilmember Jason Roth to a sales tax ad hoc committee to fund services for the additional staffing needed. On April 9th, 2024, the county recommended the closure of Station 96. Since that time, which was just a week ago, the city manager's office has provided an additional option for the County Board of Supervisors to consider. I'd like to just take a minute because it's perfect timing. Robert's presentation tonight was not planned by any means to occur with this item. We have our agenda planned significant amount of time in advance, and so Robert's presentation tonight was just so happened to happen tonight. But as you can see, the partnership between the line level personnel that are serving our community is strong. So we've got Robert that's a part of our management team meeting every week, and he's at these meetings talking about the opportunities that exist in the community. So I think that's really relevant to know because as far as I think the management team sees it, Robert's an extension of the management team because he is a part of that. I'd also like to thank Battalion Chief Brian White, who we meet consistently, we talk consistently, and we talk about the things that need to happen with the fire department and what we can do to leverage these resources. So you can see, as Robert mentioned, Battalion Chief White is aware of the items that the City of Livingston is doing to invest in its own equipment. So it's got its own engines, and we're getting it to the level that it needs to be at just for the sake of community response. So I really want to thank Robert and Battalion Chief Brian White for the partnership, so thank you. A little bit of more background, because we've talked a lot about different things throughout our council meetings. Master tax sharing agreement. Within that agreement, It does stipulate that fire parcel tax revenues and any future annexation would be retained by the county. And that does limit the city's options in terms of what it can do to provide services to the community and what mechanism it does that. General fund contribution in fiscal year 22-23, the city allocated just under $150,000 in expenditures to do many of the things that Robert talked about earlier tonight. The proposal from the county means that the city would need to allocate an additional $750,000 of new revenue that the city currently does not have. I should also mention here that the city has never been unwilling or undesiring of talking about the allocation of additional revenues to the county. It's always wanted to have a conversation about getting to the right level of staffing. Policy considerations for the council include master tax sharing language, fire parcel tax. Again, having the county retain that fire parcel tax limits the city of Livingston's ability to provide services outside of Merced County, or without the use of Merced County being a middle person. A potential sales tax measure that we're getting ready to kick off polling in the next few weeks. The survey is being finalized. In addition to that, opportunities for service delivery and alternative forms. We've talked about the need to go to 3.0 staffing. That's really the standard across the state of California. Merced County is the only agency that does allow for 1.0 staffing. So that is, it's a firefighter safety issue as well as just having adequate response in the community. There are equity concerns. So the $1 million of fire parcel tax revenue plus the $750,000 that's being requested by the county totals about $1.8 million of total costs. There are concerns because Station 96 does respond to calls in the city as well as outside the county. So there are some equity concerns about what level of funding is appropriate from the city of Livingston and from the county. And then finally, what is the appropriate level of staffing for fire department response? So one of the big policy considerations for the council is what level of service does it desire to provide to the community of Livingston? This isn't to disparage Merced County, but having fire staffing services provided through Merced County via CAL FIRE locks the city into the model that it provides throughout the county. There are some policy options that the council has to provide a different level of staffing, including 3.0, to the community that may come up in the future. Additional background on the Sales Tax Ad Hoc Committee. They were appointed on August 15th, 2023. They reviewed preliminary reviews of projected revenues with a sales tax measure. They provided a recommendation to the council on polling firms to do polling on a potential sales tax measure, which the council did adopt earlier this year. And the council did select a polling firm, and that survey is currently being drafted. So in the staff report, there's additional details, but there are two proposals that have been provided to the county. Option number one, which is the one that was provided to the county on Friday, is a stopgap funding measure. We've identified, with the help of Assistant Chief Mark Pimentel, about total cost being about $28,000 to $30,000 a month via overtime. This would give us enough time to determine whether the county was successful in achieving or obtaining the SAFER grant. During that time, or with the proposal of the SAFER grant, that would provide the necessary funding to get the city of Livingston up to the 2.0 level, with time to identify what that funding mechanism looks like after year 3. Proposal item 2 splits the cost via calls for service, which was the agenda item that was provided back in February of 2023. Based on information from the county, total station costs total $2.3 million. When we look at the split based on calls for service, Livingston's proportion would be $1.4 million, and Merced County's proportion would be $897,000. That's been a proposal that's been talked about for a while now, and so we're waiting on feedback from the county for those proposals. Proposal number 1 provides consistency, it stops the community emergency, and it provides coverage to the county and city. So this shouldn't be looked at purely as just a Livingston solution. This is really about a Merced County solution. We know that Station 96 being one of the top 2 stations in the entire county plays a critical role in emergency response when we look at the fire response system. This is supported by Merced County Fire Chief and the Assistant Chief, so Merced County Fire Management, as well as supported by CAL FIRE firefighters. I do want to take a moment here to again highlight the relationships that have been solidified with Battalion Chief Brian White and also Battalion Chief Justin Chaplin. Obviously, when we talk about solutions, we talk about prioritizing community safety and really doing what we can to prioritize public safety, as well as also ensuring that personnel is appropriately taken care of as much as we can. So again, I'd like to thank Battalion Chief Brian White, Battalion Chief Justin Chaplin, as well as Assistant Chief Mark Pimentel for collaboratively coming together for a solution for Merced County. Proposal 2 aims to establish equity. It is a longer-term agreement, and it aims to get the county to provide their fair share of costs. So final remarks on this item. The county, I think, has or will be submitting a SAFER grant in partnership. The county's taking the lead on that. The existing fire parcel tax revenue is retained by the county to the tune of about $1 million. The policy level discussion for the council is what is the council's desired level of fire service for community. We talked about the need from a management perspective to get to 3.0 staffing. With the survey that will be kicked off in the near term, we will determine resident sentiment related to fire service, potential tax, so on and so forth. Additionally, their policy priority is for this city council is for the council to determine the flexibility for the council to determine what works best for the city of Livingston. The CAL FIRE team has been incredible, Battalion Chief Brian White, and Engineer Robert Wynn. And then finally, our PCFs, as was mentioned earlier, are a key component of the fire response system. With that, that concludes my presentation, Mayor. There's additional details in the staff report, but happy to answer any questions.
That stopgap funding or split cost. So if SAFER grants come through, will that be a proposal to, will that change those fees? Will that, knowing that county, they're going to put that in, says, okay, when the SAFER grants come in, they can put it in their back pocket, they're gone. I'm sorry, I don't feel the county's gonna, we gotta make sure that if any SAFER grant comes in, it gets adjusted. Because otherwise, they're gonna say, well, you signed this.
Yeah, that's one of the comments, and it's a really good point that I made to the county CEO that, well, obviously we would need to hammer out details, but what can we do to get the communication flowing and just get other options on the table? I'm unaware of any options that the county has provided. So we've been providing this information. We've provided proposal 2. They got proposal 1 on Friday. So we're just waiting on feedback. But to your point, absolutely, we would want to make sure that if the SAFER grant was awarded, that we're not continuing to fund something when it's not needed. So that's absolutely, certainly something that is on my mind as well. I know that we've got Assistant Chief Pimentel here. I don't want to put him on the spot. But it might be relevant for a SAFER grant update if the council, would like more information on that.
Good evening, Mayor, council members. My name is Mark Pimentel. I'm the Assistant Chief for Merced County Fire Department and CAL FIRE. Just to speak a little bit as options were shown, I did have some discussions with the city manager do understand those, have expressed those to my supervisor, and we're just waiting. It's going to be a direction that comes from the county. We do understand the proposal that was forward, but again, that's going to have to go before the board for their decision to move on that. And then if you look at the SAFER grant, we have been working with all the cities, Livingston, Gustine, and Dos Palos, and kind of worked on how we can provide that additional staffing. My interpretation is what proposal is presented or whatever is determined at that point, that SAFER grant would take over those costs and allow us to have the 2.0 staffing at each one of the cities to provide from that SAFER grant. That SAFER grant will go for 3 years. We did submit it just that week after that board meeting on the 12th. Very excited about getting it out there. We've been working with FEMA diligently, kind of making sure that our application is well filled out. And then we've also reached out for support. I know the supervisors and all the districts have reached out to their elected friends and acquaintances to provide letters of support. Your city manager has also provided a letter of support from your city, and also the Gustine and Dos Palos as well. So we look as those letters go in, and we just kind of waiting back to see what our answers are when they come back. We continue to have some discussions, but again, that board won't get together to make a review on that grant. Probably we've heard as early as August, maybe a September date. And any other questions on that, I would be more than happy to answer. Thank you.
What happens if the county in its infinite wisdom decides to close 96, the SAFER grants come through, it was Livingston's money, where would that money go?
As far as when we wrote the grant, it would be to cover the cities. So I would say that grant was successful. That would be coming staffing for the cities within the incorporated cities within the county.
Yeah, but I'm sorry, maybe I misunderstood. If county says, you know what, we're going to close 96, we're going to respond for wherever, and the SAFER grants comes in, what happens to the SAFER grant the city had? Where would that money go? We don't even have a station here.
You do have a station. That is a city-owned station. The grant was written for your station. So as that grant comes in, it would go to the city so that you can facilitate that staffing there.
Oh, thank you. Okay.
Council, are there any other questions at this time? So,
Thank you very much.
Thank you. I appreciate it. All right. So this is a discussion and direction. Anything else?
Do you need a vote or something, or how?
Yeah, consensus would be good for me, just to formally get the direction from the council for those two proposals, Mayor Pro Tem.
Thank you. I like the proposal one for now to see if the SAFER grants come through.
I concur.
I'm good with that.
Thank you, Mayor, Council. I will point out that in my correspondence to the county, we would obviously want to get their information on their cost sharing of the additional overtime and what their equitable split would be on that as well. Because as we mentioned before, Station 96 is vital to the entire county. And so it's important that we get that equitable split, or what the county proposes as their funding part of that.